Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Artemis and Miss D. Say hi, guys.
Hey everyone.
So, what do we got going on today? Well, first and foremost, it is not forced wipe today. I know it is the fourth Thursday since the last forced wipe, but that doesn't always work out that way. We do have a leap year going on, and if you look at your calendar, provided you're still not totally in the Far East. It's still February at the moment. So the force wipe is the first Thursday of every month based off UK time, based off GMT, because that's where the developers are. So today is still February. So it is not forced wipe today. We do have 1 week until forced wipe. It will be March 7th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT when this update will go live and the forced wipe will happen. So that is 1 week and 1 hour from today. In the meantime, though, we do have some things to show off on staging, and we're going to go through that as always. And as always, if you have any questions for us, please do at Miss D underscore that's me in chat, and we will get to as many questions as we have the opportunity to. Now, also, real quick, what's going on with wipes, given this is kind of a weird 5 Thursday month or whatever? Well, it is for Rustafied servers, the weekly and bi weekly servers wiping today. So that's your mains, your mediums, your trios, smalls, Zen Labs, and the like. Now, it will only be a 1 week wipe cycle until next week, of course, when the force wipe happens. So the mediums and the trios that are normally bi weekly are going to be just 1 week for this week, just as a heads up. So, what is going on staging? Well, you might notice Artemis is here walking around in the dark. And if you have your brightness up a bit, you might notice it looks a little different, as in the things right near you are a little illuminated. They're glowing a little bit. Now, this was on the nightlight branch, and I don't know if it's being called nightlight or moonlighting. I feel like moonlighting kind of speaks to it a little more because it is kind of this like kind of warm glow from the moon that we're seeing. It just kind of illuminates around you a little bit. It's subtle, but it's enough to keep you seeing what's immediately around you at night in a way you previously could not. So although it is subtle, it is a nice, pretty drastic change as far as when you're out in the middle of the night and you don't have any light, and previously you couldn't even see your hand in front of your face or your rock in front of your face sometimes. Now you can. So this is coming in next week. As it stands now, this looks like it's probably roughly what it is going to be when it goes live. Like this, what we're seeing here is, I think, representative, pretty close to what we see when it goes live. This functionality actually comes with 3 different server-side CVARs, and those CVARs can be modified to increase the brightness, increase that glow, or decrease it. There's actually a brightness, a distance, and a fade CVAR for this. So depending on the server, certain servers actually could turn this functionality up if they choose to have slightly brighter nights. I imagine some servers might do that. Rustafied servers, given we're on the official list and we're vanilla, we are going to keep it whatever the default settings are for the server when it goes live. And I did chat with Helk just the other day and confirmed it looks like these settings are going to be the defaults for next week. Now, everything is subject to change, so it might change. It might be tweaked a little bit, but this should be pretty representative of what we're going to be seeing as far as moonlighting is concerned once it goes live in the update next week. Now, this moonlighting doesn't seem to be modified much by the actual moon. It's just kind of there around you all the time. And you can see things pretty close to you, but you can't see, after several feet, you can't see anything. It still looks like it used to. It's just a little glow in your direct general vicinity. Now, the cool thing about this also is not only does it let you see kind of close near you, but the way they implement this, it should avoid people from being able to gamma hack it or do anything shady as far as that's concerned to exploit it. So The devs definitely did keep this in mind when they were putting this functionality together. It allows you to see a bit, but it's not ideally exploitable as well. And that is moonlighting, and that is coming in with the update next week. Now, the other thing coming in the update next week is this tutorial island functionality, which has been in the works for several months now. We've seen the tutorial island commits and that branch be worked on for a while now. And it did actually get merged into staging earlier this week, and it is slated for a launch with the update next week. Now, apparently, this is only going to launch with official servers. I'm not sure if that's just FacePunch official servers or it's going to be all official servers. Honestly, I'm kind of hoping just for FacePunch because, well, I'll just say it. I have concerns around server performance with this because if you see how it works, what it does is it actually spawns up a new island for the person running the tutorial. And that is a server-side thing. So yeah, I've reached out to Alistair. He's going to get back to me. We're going to be talking about my performance concerns before the update on Force Swipe next week. But as it stands now, it does basically when a person runs a tutorial, and how that works is if you join the server and you've never run the tutorial before, it just prompts you with this screen to say, hey, do you want to do the tutorial? We detect this is your first time playing Rust, even though for pretty much all of us it's not, but it's just the first time the tutorial is running and looking for that. So once you click Start Tutorial, you basically load into your own single island. And the single island is separate from all the other islands and the main island. And it really is like its own map. It's its own kind of thing, just spawned there for you running the tutorial. And how it works basically is you wake up on this island. I don't know, do we have the ability to run the intro of it real quick and kind of run through this instead of doing the screens, Artemis?
Yeah, let me see if it'll work for me. Give me a sec.
Cool. And you can reset the tutorial status in your options menu.
Let's see. Yep.
And then once you die after you've reset that, then the next time you spawn, it'll kind of prompt you to run this tutorial. And yeah, basically you spawn on this island by yourself. It's a very small island. You wake up and there's this mysterious stranger basically in front of you. And the idea is you guys both just crashed in a helicopter and you're like, oh, is everybody okay or whatever. And then it's kind of like, oh, well, we're going to need some food. We're going to need some shelter. And you kind of work with this mysterious stranger going back and forth to him. It's the same functionality as the missions stuff. So basically, the stranger kind of sends you on what is it, like 5 or 7 missions, so to speak. And in these missions, you do a number of things, which in doing so, you kind of get the basics of the game. So yeah, it prompts you with the start tutorial. It's got some nice videos and stuff like that to show you. And then when you click Start Tutorial, you'll see it kind of brings you to the loading screen, and then you wake up near this stranger. And yeah, he just kind of prompts you to do a number of different things. There's gathering, crafting, building, hunting, all that stuff he kind of brings you through in this tutorial process. The tutorial, I think, takes like 15, 20 minutes probably to get through. And spoiler alert, basically, you build a 2x2 eventually, and you get a tool cupboard going, you get a workbench going. You learn the dynamics of, the basics of base building and how tool cupboards work and how workbenches work and how to gather stuff. You can see it's a very small island, relatively speaking. You go over, you kill a couple chickens, you got to get chicken breasts first and cook it. And then you got to kill a bear is like the biggest PvE thing you have to do. You kill the bear and then you get a workbench going. You got to make some metal and stuff like that. You got to use the furnace. And then with the workbench, you craft a paddle and a kayak. And then you put that in the water. And then you kind of take off and go about your business. And when you actually get in the kayak and you start paddling back towards the shore, it puts this like marker way out in the ocean for you. And you start paddling for about 30 seconds, and then very quickly these two ribs roll up or float up. I don't know. They boat up, and they're full of NPC scientists, and they kind of just surround you and then quickly shoot you, and you die. And then you respawn on the beach as you normally would as a naked. So that's basically how it works. That's the long and short of it. You get to know the overall basics of the game. It can guide new players through and get kind of some grasp of what the fundamentals are before you're actually thrown into a PvP environment and you have to do it yourself. So definitely could be a cool thing for new players joining the game to kind of get the basics. I imagine most of the people watching this today and most people who have played the game will not be bothering with this because it's not covering anything advanced here. It's really just down to the most basic stuff in the game, the most fundamental, building blocks of the game is what's covered here. But definitely a cool thing for getting people into the game and lowering that learning curve a little bit. At least you don't have to do this all in a PvP environment. But yeah, and then once you've done the tutorial, it kind of just marks that you've done the tutorial. It doesn't ask you again unless you go into your options and say, hey, reset my tutorial status, and then you can do it again if you so choose. Weird, my game just completely crashed on me, but oh well, I shouldn't need to be in game anyway, I guess. But yeah, that's Tutorial Island, very small island, 15, 20-minute process, and then you go back. Now, I originally thought, because it was a separate island during the commit process, I originally thought these were going to be separate servers. I thought that Facepunch was going to put up Tutorial Island servers, and then new people playing the game would join that server and be put on their own Tutorial Island. But that is not the case. This is actually baked into the game itself and baked into the server. So really any server with Tutorial Island activated, when people join, they can go and just run the tutorial and then be right back in the server that they were in. I imagine this probably uses some of that Nexus server to server transfer stuff on the back end, because it really is, if you look at the map in game when you're in Tutorial Island, all you see is the Tutorial Island. You don't see the main island. So it kind of is like you're transferring to your own mini server, so to speak. And yeah, in theory, this is like really cool and really great for people to, get to know the game. My concern, once again, I'm just going to say it as a server owner, is I know where server performance is now. I know, especially when you've got a 700 plus pop server, I know the margins are very slim there as far as it having enough FPS and being performant for all players and not. And there's not much wiggle room there at the moment. And so I'm concerned if we've got a 700 pop server and 50 people want to do the tutorial at once, probably not because they want to learn the tutorial, if you know what I'm saying. And they all choose to do that at the same time, I can't imagine that's going to be good for server performance. So I do have a chat with Alistair about this scheduled. So hopefully it's not an issue. Hopefully I'm just speaking out of my ass and they've already accounted for this and it doesn't do anything on the server realm. But man, sitting here as a server owner, I'm looking at this going, oh fuck. But hopefully it's not an issue. But I figured, hey, whatever. I'll just speak my concerns because we got a week to go. And we'll see where we're at with this next week. And hopefully my concerns are just not valid at all. And it's been accounted for and performance isn't an issue whatsoever. That is really what I'm intending. Because otherwise force wipe could not be so great for servers running this. But once again, this is looking like it's only going to launch on official servers. Not sure if that's community official and Facepunch or just Facepunch, but we'll see. But that is Tutorial Island. It's a cool new feature. And if you got new people starting the game, you probably want to tell them, hey, to get the ropes for the first half hour, just go do the tutorial. And then you'll learn kind of those fundamental basics of the game. Now, also on top of Tutorial Island and on top of the Moonlight stuff, we have some UI changes going on that are coming in the update next week as well. First and foremost, we got vendor UI. This is the in-game map for when you got vending machines and the NPC vendors around the map. The UI for that has been significantly improved. It looks a lot better, and really one of the big changes is when you've got a cluster of vendors on the map, it now handles that cluster a lot better. It just looks a lot cleaner. It'll say like 3 vendors, and then you can kind of expand each vendor like accordion style and easily see what's available in each vendor on the map before visiting there. So it's really just a nice improvement to the UI. Artemis, were you able to show that off or get back to the main island to have people view that a little bit?
Yeah, sure thing. Give me a second. The island won't let me
Cool.
go for a minute, but
Yeah,
Can
sorry,
you
we'll
meet
get you a
me if you
visual
want
on that.
on the main island?
And yeah, we were teleporting back and forth between the tutorial islands, and it doesn't look like that's like intended. So it's a little wonky if you're using admin commands to go back and forth between tutorial islands. That seems like it might screw things up a little bit, but thankfully that's
okay.
not something regular people are going to be doing anyway. So
It might have a slow issue. Or it doesn't want to show me the map properly, which is really unhelpful. Bear with
oh,
me a
is it not
second.
showing you the map properly now?
No, bear with me a second.
Joe. Okay, we'll get there.
We'll switch
This
over
is
here for a second. Sorry about that, guys. I'm going to reconnect, see if that helps me.
cool. Yeah, the joys of staging branch. Sometimes things don't work as intended. And I think we might have made matters worse because Artemis did teleport. Miss D had a tutorial island, and then Artemis teleported there and then teleported back. And I think that is not accounted for in the code. And it might have just made something wonky with Artemis's view. But once again, shouldn't be a real issue for normal people playing the game. The other cool thing we got going on is the shop UI for the main menu system, the in-game shop, so to speak, has been modified as well. And we'll show that off here in a minute once Artemis gets back in-game. In the meantime, I'll talk about some other stuff going on that we don't have visuals for. So first and foremost, we got Bradley Scientist. You might recall from last week, it looks like Bradley is getting a little bit of a Buffy buff, as scientist NPCs will be roaming with Bradley in the near future. This is going to be the case both for Bradley's at launch site and Bradley's roaming the map near the end of wipe. So it's going to be a little bit harder to get Bradley, as you'll have to account for some of these scientists as well. This is still in a separate branch, so we don't know exactly how many scientists. I think it's the normal blue scientists, not heavy scientists, but I could be wrong. And yeah, I imagine it's going to be like 5 or 6 scientists rolling with it, but we'll have to see. Still on a separate branch. Not sure if this is going to come in for the update next week. It seems like it's getting pretty close, but given we're just a week away from the force wipe, it's the probability of new things coming in goes down by the moment as we get closer and closer to that forced wipe time. But we will let you know. As always, we've got an article on Rustafied.com first thing Thursday that summarizes everything going on in development in text and pictures. And so the article next week will just summarize everything coming out in the update. And we'll see if this Bradley Scientist stuff makes it in. So Artemis, how's your in-game view looking now?
Yeah, unfortunately, the map still seems to be broken.
It's still
for the moment.
borked.
Yeah, I can show
Yeah.
off the rework of the shop items for sure. And then
Oh,
maybe
you know what? Maybe if Miss D goes to like Bandit or something where there are vendor UIs, and then you teleport to her, the map will be centered around
Yeah,
one, and maybe you
exactly.
can see it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. Give me a sec.
And in the meantime, you can probably show off the escape menu shop UI, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Cool. So yeah, if you go to the item store in the escape menu, you can see this is a new view here for both the limited and the general. Specifically, when you click into an item, you can see it loads a 3-dimensional view of the item, which of course is not working now.
It really does, yeah.
But it does work.
Yeah.
It did work. It didn't work for me, and then it did work. Oh, it's working on some items. There we go. See, you get this three-dimensional view, and you can see what it replaces and what it breaks down into and everything like that, and you can purchase it right there. So that's a nice little UI update to the in-game escape menu item store. And then on top of that, if you go to the general stuff, is it? The tab on the
Yeah.
top, then you can see the different Frontier packs and everything like that. And if you click into like the DLC, the Frontier DLC, you can see that there, what it does is it describes the DLC pack, and then it actually shows each item in the DLC pack with the 3D, rendered rotating version, which is just a nice view, nicer than what we've seen before. Previously, it was just all static images and stuff like that. So it's cool to see like the full render of the item and what it's going to look like. And then you can, of course, purchase it. And this is the case for all the building DLCs and everything too. It's just they've kind of redesigned the DLC view. They've redesigned the item view and added these 3D, scrolling models, which is cool. It's a cool representation of it. And so it looks like this shop UI, item store UI update is coming next week as well. Back into game, are we able to see that the UI now?
In Bandit right now, so if you wanna
Cool.
Bandit camp.
There we go.
And there we go. We can see the new store UI or the vendor UI. It's confusing because there's like the escape menu item store UI has changed, and then the in-game vendor UI has changed. And I keep tripping over my words because they're all stores or vendors or item. I don't know, But there you can see the new UI for the in-game vendors on the in-game map. You can just see it's easier to read, it's better laid out, and especially when you're zoomed out and there's clusters of vendors, they kind of stack on top of each other in an accordion fashion. So it's just overall a big improvement to the general UI of in-game vendors. And that is another thing coming with the update next week. Now, there's a bunch of other stuff being worked on too. Now, I'm not sure how much of this is going to be actually making its way into the game for next week, but we will see. And this definitely isn't making it in for next week, but there was yesterday an initial commit on bikes. So it looks like bicycles are making their way into the game eventually as a new mode of transportation. I think that's going to be really cool. And it looks like they're kind of taking the baseline of the snowmobiles and then modifying that into the bikes. But the initial commit just happened yesterday, so we're definitely not going to see that for the March 7th update. But maybe come, April, May, or June, we will see bikes enter the game. There's also more work on the new tool cupboard skin. And what that's going to do is actually add a screen to the front of the tool cupboard, which when you're authorized on said tool cupboard, you'll be able to see the stats of the tool cupboard and like remaining time and everything on a actual physical screen on the tool cupboard, kind of like vending machines, have that visual in front, have that screen in front. Not sure if that's coming next week or not. I think it definitely could be. That's definitely possible, and maybe we'll see for the first time some tool cupboard skins enter the item store. There's also more work continuing on the two new weapons being worked on, the minigun and the military flamethrower. The models and initial stuff, initial textures and everything for these have been completed already. And now they're working on the implementation of like damage stats and different animations and sounds from the looks of it. And I don't think either of these are going to make it in for the update next week. Generally speaking, guns need a little more time from initial like texturing and modeling to actually being ready for primetime production in the game. So I don't think we're going to see either of these next week, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see them come April. I had to remember my months for a minute, but yeah. So we'll keep you posted on that as always. There's also been an update to pipe tool and wire tool descriptions. That's a small thing, not a big deal. There's more work on full server demos. I'm not sure exactly what this is going to be for, if this is going to be a tool for content creators or if this is going to be a tool for the developers to actually kind of see some more granular details on what people are doing at any given time on a server, and if that's going to be used to like as a metric thing to make modifications or whatever. But we have seen a good amount of work on these full server demos, and I'm going to see if I can get kind of the lowdown of what the intended use case for those are and see if we can play with those a little bit this week to have some clearer news for you next week when they go live with the update. It does look like full server demos are likely going to go live, but once again, I don't think it's going to be anything that players use or anything like that. It's going to be something for content creators, server admins, and probably mostly developers. There's also more work being done on the monument updates. They're working on the harbor, oil rig, and compound. Over at harbor, they're adding a crane, a actual working crane to move the big storage containers at harbor or at harbors, And they're also modifying harbor for the cargo ship and to account for the cargo ship in some manner, shape, or form. So I'm not sure if the cargo ship is actually going to, upon the redux of this harbor, actually stop there and have you be able to load things onto and off of maybe with the crane. I'm not sure, but some interesting stuff is happening at harbor. With oil rig, they're modifying it to add a moon pool underneath one of the oil rigs where people will be able to access them with a submarine, just like you access the underwater labs with a submarine. So that's an interesting one that we're keeping an eye on. And then finally, there's the compound redesign, which is a complete rework of the compound monument. There's going to be a new city hall building. There's going to be new helipads and various walkways for different players and stuff like that. Now, with all of these monument updates, they're going to take some time. I don't think any of them are coming for the update next week, and probably not for the following update the following month, because all these monuments are bespoke, custom created things that in and of themselves took a long time to create and then to modify, especially like compound. It seems like they're doing a complete overhaul of the compound, and that's going to take several months to get complete. So I don't think we're going to see these anytime real soon, but it is cool to see the devs, being true to their word from the beginning of the year, where they were like, throughout this year, we're going to go through and improve the existing monuments, build upon them, and just make them better. And we're seeing that happen with the first 3 monuments, harbor, oil rig, and compound. And I imagine throughout the year, we're going to see these launch, and then we're going to see some more be worked on and improved. So we'll keep you posted on that. Another small thing, and this is like kind of a quality of life for both players and server owners, is the server favorites endpoint has been added, and it sets the DNS host name to save when favoriting a server. Now that probably sounds like a bunch of gibberish to you, and I don't blame you, but long and short, basically, like with Rustafied servers, we've got the connect info is connectusmain.rustafied.com, right? But there's of course an IP address associated with that DNS record. Now previously, the only thing that the server list was paying attention to and the favorites was paying attention to is that IP address, not the DNS record. And so if we got to move the US main box from one physical location to another, chances are that's going to change the IP address, and then we need to repoint the DNS record. And what would happen in that case always is your favorites would just disappear when that happened. And with this new endpoint, what it's doing is it's tracking that DNS. So if the IP changes, it will still show the server on your favorites. I know that was a long-winded thing, but it's really a cool thing for server owners, especially because we would always lose momentum whenever we move a server and change a server IP address specifically. And sometimes we have to do that because of hardware things or whatever. And we'd always lose momentum on the server for a while because it would just disappear off people's favorites. And now it won't, which is awesome. So good looks on the devs for putting that small quality of life thing in. And then finally, there's more work on the I/O snapping of wire tools and the like. So they're working on having a snapping mechanic for like the wire and the plumbing and stuff like that and the industrial. So ideally, you'll be able to use this to make really easy, clean wiring and piping and all that stuff. That's still on a separate branch. Not sure if it's going to make it in for the update next week. Guessing probably not, but definitely a cool thing coming in the future. Now, that about does it for what's going on in Rust development, and we'll get into some questions here momentarily. But real quick, I do want to say a couple things on the Rustafied side. One is for the solo servers, we are going to be changing back to a weekly wipe cycle as of the update next week. And technically as of the wipe today, because there's only 1 week till the forced wipe. But we originally launched them in December, and we played with both 1 week and bi-weekly wipe. But the vast majority of people have been telling us that they want it to be weekly. People spoke and they said they want a weekly wipe on the solos. So we're switching back to a weekly wipe on the solos. Also, a change going on with Zen Labs is we're foregoing the custom maps for a little while. I'm not going to go into too many details, but basically the custom map situation is not ideal at the moment. There's a couple things fundamentally that are basically equating to it being really, really hard to have a custom map that's free of glitches and issues, especially at like monuments and with puzzles and things like that. It's just the stuff that goes in behind making these custom maps needs some work. And so we were having a lot of trouble with the custom maps, trying to run them on Zen Labs. And we would have issues week after week with them. So we decided to pause on the custom map thing for a little while. And hopefully we'll pick it back up later this year. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're just going to do a small proc-gen map that's PvP oriented. And it's going to be a smaller pop, like 150. And the blueprints aren't going to wipe. So if you want a small place to play that's PvP oriented and the blueprints don't wipe every month, then check out Zen Labs, because that's how they're going to be running for the next foreseeable future. And then finally, on the Rustafied end, we do have a new apply page going on. We are taking applications for a new position for chat moderation. So that's going to be Discord and in-game chat moderation. And also we're taking applications for server mods as well. And that application process is all in Discord now. So if you go to our Discord, discord.gg/rustified, and look at the apply channel, then you should be able to apply to whatever you want to apply to there. And the chat mods, this new position, do get VIP on our servers. And there are some other benefits you can check out there. And we would love to build our team and grow our team so that we can support the community at large and keep our servers clear of hackers as much as possible. So if you're interested in joining, check out our Discord, the Apply channel. And then, yeah, I think that about does it. Hey, Miss D, do we have any questions from the audience we want to cover?
Hey, Bugs, we sure do.
Nice.
Yeah. Is it a force wipe today?
No, it is not a force wipe today. The force wipe is next week, March 7th, as the force wipe and update are always on the first Thursday of the month, regardless of how many Thursdays might be in between the last update and force wipe.
Is there any... Oh, goodness. So, the new lights, how does that looks like in the snow?
Oh, let's head up to the snow and show you.
Yeah, sure.
It's got a nice little glow in the snow.
Glow in the snow.
Oh, we're getting request to turn Miss D up.
Oh, I'll try eat my mic. Is this better?
Yeah, maybe Artemis can notch you up a bit.
Hello, hello.
Yeah,
This thing. How does this sound? Is it better?
Yeah, hopefully it's better.
I'm just blowing all ears out. Okay, let me know if it's better now. Can you fix the game so players with low spec comms can return?
Oh man, if I would, I could. But no, I can't. I'm sorry. We're not the developers of the game. We're just fans of the game like you who run the best servers that we can and report on development news as it goes. But yeah, we're not on the Facepunch payroll. We're not developers of the game at all. So we really can't, change anything. But I do feel where you're coming from. Optimization is a, pain point in the game, up there with the hacker situation, but not as bad as the hacker situation, in my opinion. But yeah, definitely some optimization would be welcome. And I'm not sure if it's going to happen though. I think we might just have to wait for video cards to get better and the ones that are great now to come down in price. But we'll see.
Mm, Large backpacks don't have a filter in industrial. Can this be added?
Yeah, I believe that has been fixed as of this month.
Is there any news on global rendering and new outpost?
Global rendering, they basically announced the other week that that's on hiatus until they get a better render pipeline, a totally custom render pipeline, I believe was the wording that they used. So, long and short, that global rendering is really cool. If you're not aware that global rendering is what allows you to see bases from across the map and have them like pretty much always be rendered in as if they were prefab on the map, just like trees and rocks. You realize you can see those for a long, long distance, right? But you can't see bases. The global network bases and the global rendering was to allow for a low fidelity version of the base to be visible to anyone basically across the map. The problem is, as you would imagine, optimization and performance. And on top of that, there were some glitches that were just kind of the icing on the cake of the whole thing. And the devs went back and forth at the end of last year a bunch on, can we add it? Oh, we got to disable it. Maybe we can add it again. Okay, we're going to disable it. And where they came to just the other week is we need a total custom render pipeline to be in place prior to that global network bases stuff being feasible in a performant manner. So, long-winded way of saying I think it's going to be not till maybe later this year at the earliest that we see those global network bases and that global rendering come into the game in full.
Will you see the names of the people authorized on the TC on that screen that you talked about earlier?
I'm not sure if it'll show that or not. As it stands, I've only heard that there will be a screen, and I think I've heard that it will show the upkeep
Upkeep?
time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it will list out those who are authorized on it. And I think it might only, like the screen itself might only be visible and turn on for people who are authorized on the cupboard. I believe I saw that on a commit. But as it stands, we haven't seen any visuals about this new tool cupboard. And so it's hard to tell exactly what will be displayed and how it will look.
I guess it's also hard to show if you have like a 20-man unauthorized. You
Yeah,
can't
that would be
really
a
show all those on the TC screen.
Yeah, yeah. And we're just going to keep it night here for you guys so you can see this moonlight action. Once again, it is subtle. It's only a like subtle glow in the general vicinity right around where you are as a player. And you definitely will want to turn your brightness up to fully see it if you don't see it. And yeah, ideally, it allows you to see at least a little bit at night in your general vicinity. And it also is not ideally exploitable for gamma hacks and things like that.
Can you bring Savas back and make it an official server again, please?
It might go into the rotation of custom maps when we go back to custom maps.
Gonna put you
That's
back on
interesting.
the
You
BRB, yeah, because I've loaded back into the tutorial. Give me a sec.
Oh,
run the quit tutorial command real quick.
Just quit tutorial.
I think it's do find tutorial or find quit,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it should list out the exact syntax. But yeah, you probably have to run that, and then it'll maybe put you back clean into the. Oh, and that makes sense why your map wasn't zooming because when you're on the tutorial mode, they disable map zoom.
That's
Okay,
it.
this
Yeah,
is
I think it
making
will. I
sense
just didn't
now.
know how
It's
to.
just thinking you're on the tutorial still. But anyway, sorry, I got distracted. The Savas is potentially something that we could bring back into the custom map rotation of Zen Labs when Zen Labs goes back eventually to custom maps. But really, at the end of the day, Facepunch discontinued Savas, they discontinued Happus, they discontinued Baron, such that they can focus on other things. And given that, in order to bring those things back, it needs community members to volunteer and keep them up to date. And that has proven to be a hard thing to consistently do week after week, month after month, because also it might work this month, but 2 months down the road, they might change something and it completely breaks this custom map. Then you got to go in, or someone's got to go in and completely change it again. So it's just all to say we might play Savas in the future, but having a full-fledged 24/7 Savas map server on the official list, I don't think is ever going to happen again. Sorry.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of work.
Oh, and
Do
we've
you?
got a request to see the glow at in bases and stuff. So I don't know
Oh
if we
yeah.
can quickly put like a 2x2 together or something like that, but that is something that I think would be good to show because the glow does work in bases. It's not like you need the moon to be showing to have the glow. It's agnostic of the moon. So that glow
I
is just
see.
there and it's there wherever you're looking. So if you alt look, it'll be there. If even if you free cam, it's still there. Not like players can free cam, but that's just what I was seeing when I was taking pictures and stuff. So that glow is kind of like baked into whatever you're viewing, regardless of where you are.
If you could put that on Misty, that'd be great. I'll TP to you when I get back.
Yes, give me a sec. Do you guys think the minigun and the melee flamethrower will come in April or later on?
I think they potentially could come in April. I think there's maybe like a 50% chance if I had to just guess that they would come in April. I'd say they're definitely not coming in March. But given it looks like the models for them have been completed, the textures have been completed, it looks like they're working on the animations and stuff now. I think it is very possible we could see in April, but it might have to wait till May.
One sec, I'm spawning wood in. Okay, let me see the next one here. Do you see the notes sparkle in the moonlight?
You don't see the sparkles, unfortunately, but you can see nodes a bit clearer.
Let me see, I'm just gonna build this base for you, Artemis. Just a 2x2, yeah?
Cool. And I'll do a little recap
Awesome.
as we're going through this.
Yeah.
So update is next week. It is not Force Wipe today. March 7th is when the update and Force Wipe is happening at regular time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT. So basically 1 week and 18 minutes from now is when we're going to see this update go live. Probably highlight of the update so far is this moonlighting thing that Helk has been working on. It was over on the Nightlight branch. And what it is just giving a soft moonlight esque glow for players in like a near, he said around 6 meter radius. I feel like that's a little large. I don't think it's actually 6 meters. I think it's more like maybe 6 feet.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so. I think that's about
but of
right.
course, yeah, this is all subject to change. It won't be finalized until next week. It is dependent on 3 CVARs set on the server side. So server owners will be able to modify this if a server owner wants like a bright night. You'll be able to do that. On Rustafied servers, we're not going to do that because we run vanilla official. So we're just going to use whatever the default settings are. But based on my conversation with Helk, I did a back and forth with him the other day on what the default settings should be. And I think we nailed down the default settings. So I think what we're showing here, once we actually are back and showing, and sorry, Artemis had to rejoin the server a couple times just because we got glitched into the tutorial mode. Yeah, the more I
Of
experience this
course.
tutorial mode, the more I'm like, oh, I don't know about this tutorial mode. But no, I'm sure it's going to be fine. But anyway, moonlighting, it allows you to see a little bit around you. It's subtle. It's very subtle. So you want to turn your brightness up to really fully like experience it. But it's just a slight glow for everything around you. And it's regardless of where you're looking, where you're at, regardless of how big the moon is or if the moon's even out that night. It's just this glow around you that allows you to not be completely like blind and not be able to see your hand in front of your face like previously. So now you can see that, and it'll be nice to kind of at least not be totally blind as a bat at night. So that's cool. Also, we have Tutorial Island coming in. This is something that's been worked on for months now. And what it is just, I originally thought it was going to be a separate type of server. And I was hoping it was going to be a separate type of server where new people would just join the Face Punch Tutorial Island EU server, if they're in EU, and then they run through the tutorial, and then they would join an actual server. But that's not actually what it is. What it is baked into every server. Now, it's only apparently going to run at launch on official servers. Not sure if that's Facepunch official only or community official like us as well. But it is slated to go out next week. And how it works is when you join the game, if you haven't done the tutorial yet, when you get into the server and spawn, it pops up a little message, modal window that says, hey, we see it's your first time. Do you want to play a tutorial? If you hit the button to start the tutorial, it actually has you briefly go into a loading screen, and then it spawns you on your own private island, and which is still on the server. It's just not accessible to anyone else. And you can't see the main island or anything like that. It's its own like map, and it's its own static little tiny island. And on that island, basically, the idea is you just crashed in a helicopter with this mysterious stranger. I don't know why you were in a helicopter with a person you had no idea who they were. I don't know I don't know where the mystery is. But anyway, and that guy's like basically just leading you through a couple missions. And this is the same, if you've done any missions in the game, it's the same dynamic. You know, you talk to him, you answer some questions, and then it brings up the mission like objectives on the top left of your screen. And this brings you through the basics of the game, like gathering, crafting, building, hunting. And you end up basically building a 2x2, upgrade it to wood. You get a furnace and use the furnace, you use the tool cupboard, you craft a workbench. And then you basically craft a kayak and a paddle. You go and put the kayak and the paddle in the water, and you're off. And then once you're off, going back towards shore, I throw up the air quotes there, two ribs show up full of NPC scientists, and they just blow you to smithereens. And then you respawn on the beach on the regular big island of the server as you would. And then it doesn't prompt you to do the tutorial again, unless you go into the options menu and say, hey, reset tutorial status, which you can do. So that's the tutorial thing. It's going to be cool for new players coming in. And ideally, they can get the ropes and base gameplay mechanics in a non-PvP environment before getting into the actual PvP environment. But yeah, we'll see. Once again, I've got concerns around performance. I don't know how this is going to work on a large server if a bunch of people want to do the tutorial at once. I don't think we have the overhead performance-wise on the server end to do this. And I'm not talking about Rustafied servers. I'm just talking about all servers, because we've got top-of-the-line machines running one server, and already we don't have much overhead when we're talking big servers. So we will see how that goes. I've got a conversation with Alistair for early next week to talk about it, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. Also, going in the update for next week is the updated vendor UI, and that's for in-game vendors that you see on your in-game map. And basically, they just improved that, especially for clusters of vendors. If you look, and it just looks a lot better. I don't know if Artemis, your map is still screwed up. If you can show that one more time.
It's fine. Yeah, I'm here anyway, so I can show it.
But yeah, we can see the new UI. Look at that. It's so nice looking. And then when you've got clusters of the UI, then they basically stack on top of each other, and it's like an accordion. And you can just scroll down in that UI panel that pops up and easily see what each vendor has and how much is in stock and all that good stuff. So that's the new vendor UI for the in-game map. And then also, there is in the escape menu, the item store has been reworked a bit, the UI for that. So we can show that off real quick. Basically, it still looks pretty similar, but then when you click into an item, it'll show the 3D rotating render of it. If you've ever seen like the Twitch drops, what they do on twitch.facepunch.com when they've got a Twitch campaign going, it's that. It's the 3D, rotate view. And then for the general ones as well, the DLC screens have been improved. So it has like a bunch more information about the DLC. If you're talking a building skin DLC, it has some screenshots of it. And if you're talking like the Frontier DLC that has a bunch of items in it, then it just has a 3D like rotator for each item. So you can just get a much better representation of what is included in whatever you're buying. And then you can also very easily, through that, just buy in game. So that's the updates to the shop UI for the escape menu. Now, a couple other things just to wrap up this recapity cap here. Bradley scientists are coming in, so scientists NPCs will soon be strolling with Bradley as he goes around not only the launch site, but also when Bradleys appear at the end of wipe around the map. It looks like there will be several scientist NPCs going with him. So that's a little buff to Bradley. Not sure if that's making it in for the update next week, but we will keep you posted. There was initial commits on bikes, so bikes will make it in eventually. It's going to be a new form of transportation in the game. Not coming in anytime soon because the initial commit was just yesterday, so I imagine it's going to take a couple months to get those ready to go. But hey, maybe sooner rather than later, as they are working off the baseline of the snowmobiles. So hey, maybe in April we'll see bikes. We'll let you know. We'll keep you posted. There's a new tool cupboard skin coming in with a screen on the front of it to see the upkeep information and stuff. There's work on the minigun and military flamethrower, which are two new weapons coming into the game at some point in the future. There's full server demos, which I think that's just going to be for content creators / developers and maybe server owners. So not sure if that's going to be anything for you guys as players, but it is coming in. They're doing more work on the monument updates. They're working on the harbor, on the oil rig, and on the compound, just improving these things. And those are not going to be coming in for March 7th because, well, to change a monument is a lot of work as they are bespoke and handmade by the team. So I imagine it's going to be another month or so before we see any of these monument reworks come in. They've improved something where your favorites will save if the server IP address changes. So it's tracking the DNS hostname record as opposed to the IP address in the favorites list, which is a nice quality of life thing because oftentimes servers need to change the location, which changes the IP. We update the DNS record, but everyone loses their favorites anyway. And thankfully, that shouldn't happen anymore. And then finally, they're doing some I/O snapping for wire tools and the like. So you should be able to have some cleaner wiring at some point in the future. Not sure if that is going to make it in for the March 7th update, but we, as always, will keep you posted. And then two other things real quick. We are taking applications for chat mods and server mods. And we've got a new application process live on our Discord. So head over to discord.gg/Rustafied and hit up the apply page to check that out. You can see the benefits of each position. Also, if you're a streamer, you can now apply for our streamer partnership through there, which gets you VIP in the servers and support and all that stuff. And then also just two changes to two servers for next week. Solos are going back to weekly wipe. We tried weekly, we tried bi-weekly, and people are very vocal about wanting weekly. So the solo servers will be a weekly wipe only as of next week. And then Zen Labs is switching off of custom maps, and it's going to go to a small proc-gen PvP-oriented no BP wipe model for the foreseeable future. So our Zen Labs will be kind of shifting in how they operate. We're saying goodbye for the time being to custom maps. In the meantime, this week we are running Happus for like the last time in the near future. So if you want to get your taste of Happus going on, check out one of our Zen Lab servers this week. And then starting next week with the update and force wipe, they're going to go to small PvP oriented no BP wipe action. And that about does it. Miss D, we got any questions from the audience?
Yes, one or two more, I think. Some people were talking about the lights. If that's, are you able to manipulate with that in any way, like personally?
Players can't change the lighting impact at all for the moonlight stuff. That is a server setting. So the server owner can actually, there's 3 CVARs. If you run a server, you can find them by just doing SV find nightlight, nightlight being one word, in the server console. And then you can see there's one for brightness, there's one for distance, and there's one for fade. And now the default settings that are there, I believe, are going to be the finalized default settings. I was going back and forth with Helk on that and Alistair on that, and it looks like those are going to be the default settings for next week. But if you are a server owner, you can change that and make night brighter. You can make people be able to see from a greater distance, and you can have the fade of that seeing be whatever you want it to be. But at Rustafied, we are going to keep it the default settings as we do run vanilla official.
Is this live on staging right now? The tutorial island?
Yep. If you join a staging server, you'll be able to run through the tutorial. Most likely, I would join one of the Facepunch official staging servers. And yeah, as soon as you spawn on the beach, it should pop up that prompt to do the tutorial. And then you just click start tutorial. You can run through it. It's, I believe, like 15, 20 minutes basically. And it's really, it's really straightforward. It's not even, there's no need to write a tutorial for the tutorial because it's very straightforward.
Will the new vendor view be the same for a player vending machine?
Yeah, that's going to be the case for the NPC vendors and for player created vending machines as well. That UI is ubiquitous between both.
Nice. Is there any other things that Rustafied wanna add before we wind down?
No, just if you're interested in applying, if you're interested in helping us chat moderate, and if you played on our servers enough and you're a chat mod, you do get VIP. So there is some incentive there. If you want to be a server moderator, we're definitely looking for more server moderators to help relieve this hacker situation. The hacking situation is a big problem in the game. And at Rustified, we are doing everything we can to resolve that. We've got our own in-house anti-cheat we've been developing. We're working with a third-party anti-cheat on top of whatever the hell EAC fucking does. And on top of that, we're looking to throw some more human bodies at it to be able to field reports and get rid of hackers as soon as possible. So if you want to help us with that, then please go to our Discord and check out the apply page. And then also take note of Solos going weekly and Zen Labs going to a PvP, small PvP oriented proc gen with no blueprint wipes.
I just saw a question actually. Regards the apply, can chat mods have less than a 1K hour?
I have to check with my team on that, actually. It's a brand new position. I think it might be, I don't know. I should know this. I apologize. But let me just see what oh yeah. It looks like you do have to have played 1,000 hours. But then you do get VIP. So yeah, that's that. And you can look at your hours on Battle Metrics, I believe, if you're not sure.
I don't think I see any new questions.
All right, cool. Well, it's about that time anyway, so we will wind this puppy down. Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you to people who watch, to people who give bits and subscribe on Twitch, and to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers. Thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. We are an independent organization. We're not on the Facepunch payroll. We're not developers of the game. We're just fans of the game who love reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And the only way we can do that week after week, month after month, year after year is through the support of the community. So really, thank you so much for that support. Thank you, Artemis and Misty, for being my co-MCs as always.
You're welcome as always.
Yep, you're welcome.
And yeah, with that, we're going to wind this puppy down. We will be back next week, same time, same place, to give a full rundown of what is coming in the update and let you know exactly when that update hits. It should be hitting exactly 7 days from now, roughly. So we'll be back. We'll also be on Rustafied.com, a new article first thing Thursday that'll summarize everything going on in the update in text and pictures. And check us out over on Twitter or X or whatever the hell they're calling it now, on just Rustafied, because we post some things there throughout the week. If you want to track development, like we got some shorts and stuff to show off stuff when it goes into staging. But yeah, once again, thank you all so much. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.